Welcome back, everyone, to Comic DNA, the comic book discussion podcast. This is episode 8, and in today's episode, we will be discussing Heck by Zander Cannon, published by Top Shelf Productions in 2013. My name is Aaron Walther, and with me, as always, is my good friend Luke Thompson Moritz.
Thank you very much.
So, as I had just said not 5 seconds ago, we're going to be talking about Heck, and it is written and drawn by Zander Cannon. It was originally self-published by him in a digital magazine that he and his brother did.
Double Barrel? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Double Barrel. That is correct. And so that was published, I think, starting in 2010 through 2010 and 2011. And when it was finished, it was published as a graphic novel by Top Shelf. And I'm a big fan of Zander Cannon. I actually, like most people, I think the wider audience was introduced to him through the series Top 10 by Alan Moore and Gene Ha. And I know that's where you were first introduced to him too,
yes,
Luke.
and then the subsequent Top 10.
Yeah, the sequel, Smacks. On Top 10, Zander Cannon was the layout artist. He worked in the studio with Gene Ha, and Gene Ha did all the finishing art on the pencils. And then it was I can't remember if Gene Ha did the inks too. Really letting down my info cred here, but yeah. So Zander Cannon and Gene Ha were the two artists for that. And then the second series, the spin-off series about Smacks, was drawn completely by Zander Cannon. He did the full art on that one. I had the good fortune of meeting Zander Cannon at a Wizard World in Chicago many years ago, and of course he's a really great guy. He was really nice, but that year it was just before the Top 10 Season 2 series was coming out. Top 10 was a 12-issue series by, as I had just said, Alan Moore and Gene Ha. And then they did the miniseries Smacks by Alan Moore and Zander Cannon. And then there was another book by Alan Moore and Gene Ha, like a prequel. And then there was another series that nobody else had anything to do with. And then there was, many years later, Season 2. And this one, Alan Moore didn't have so much to do with, but it was written by Zander Cannon. And Gene Ha also did the art with Zander. And the year, I think it had to have been 2007. It was right before that book came out. So there was a little bit of buzz about it. I know I was really excited. And my friend and I got to kind of hang out at Zander's table and talk with him for a while. And he brought out his portfolio of all his penciled pages. And he showed us, like, the whole first issue.
So by this point, were you already a pretty big Zander Cannon fan?
I was, because I had read Top 10 and I had read Smacks. So I knew him just from that. And he was one of the guys that I was there to see. Like, I really wanted to see Zander Cannon.
Right.
And I walked away from his table with, like, every book that he had published. His Replacement God graphic novel that he self-published. That was, I think, one of the earliest things he had done. It was certainly the first thing that he wrote and drew. And I also got, what was it? Bone Sharps, Cowboys, and Thunder Lizards. That's another book that he and his brother, I think, worked on. And they drew it. They didn't write it. And I also got his. There's some science comics that he did. I forget what they were for, but there was like some educational, like a nonprofit organization contacted them to do these like educational comics. So one is about like space weather, and another one is about something about the Earth,
just
geological stuff. Yeah. But really cool stuff. Anyway, the point is, what I was talking about was before this Top 10 book came out. He showed us all of the pencils for the whole first issue.
Oh, wow.
And it was really cool because my friend and I basically got to read there, or just sit there and read the issue. It wasn't lettered or anything, but his pencils were actually really full. I was actually really surprised, knowing only that Zander Cannon was the layout artist and Gene Ha was the finishing artist on Top 10. When I eventually saw the issue, I guess I was just surprised at how like
Intact it
complete,
was.
yeah, the
Yeah.
pencils were. Like, I mean, Gene Ha certainly adds the Gene Ha flourish to it, but the amount of work Zander Cannon did on Top Ten uh, cannot be understated, and I think a lot of people may have overlooked that a little bit. But yeah, so we got to flip through all the pages while he basically just told us the whole story. Like, he was like, "Oh, on this page, this is happening, and then this character says this, and this character says that." It was pretty great. It was,
That's pretty surreal. I would love to
yeah.
experience something like that.
I mean, it's pretty much the reason like I go to comic book conventions. Why I
Just
like,
for that off chance that that's going to happen again.
yeah. Well, it's most comic book creators are really lonely, and so they're happy for people to come talk to them.
And
about
plus,
their
like, if
books.
someone comes to talk to them, you're going to explain it and you're going to sell it and it's going to be great. And then the customer's going to go, you know what? I'm going to buy everything at the table. Let's
Yeah,
go with that.
yeah. Needless to say, yeah, my friend and I both bought a lot of Zander Cannon comics that day.
And, I feel like I hopped in right at a good time of him still being, or him still publishing things like Heck, and, so I can read his older stuff like Top 10 and Smacks and get into how he is, how he writes and everything, and then I won't get burned by like, well, yeah, he's retired now,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he seems like he's kind of in his heyday now, or not heyday. Yeah, I guess that's
well,
the
no,
right word.
his career definitely is like at the highest it's ever been.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I mean,
deservedly.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, he's doing good.
Yeah.
He's still considered an indie creator.
He's like one of the big indie creators.
But yeah, he's doing well in the industry. Heck was nominated for an Eisner Award,
Yes.
and that got him a lot of attention.
It says on the back too that it's his first graphic novel.
It was definitely like, yeah, he hasn't written and drawn a lot of things. He did, like I said, he did an early series called The Replacement God, which is really cool, and I'll have to lend it to you so you can read it.
Was
if you
that
like
just
Heck.
him also?
Yeah, that was just
Okay.
him, written and drawn by him, that he put out.
And
I
then,
think it was put
that
out
earlier than Top 10?
Oh yes.
Okay.
This was like early stuff. I think he put it out through like Slave Labor Graphics.
Okay.
And he might have self-published some of it too. I think. And then after that is when he started working on Top 10.
Okay.
And then he's gone on to do like various things here and there. But Heck was like his first really big like solo comic project, like just him writing and drawing, doing the whole thing. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Heck.
Yeah, let's just hop right into it.
Yeah, so Luke, why don't you give me a plot synopsis?
Okay, so the plot synopsis of Heck is after the main character, Heck, after his father passes away, he inherits his father's house. Does he inherit it, or does he go there to pack everything up?
He inherits it.
Okay. He inherits the house, and through a chain of events finds that the basement of the house has a portal to hell in it.
Mm-hmm.
From this discovery that he has this portal to hell, him and a childhood acquaintance make a little business out of going to hell and doing various things, such as giving a message to a loved one, or so on and so forth. And,
or answering questions.
Yeah, or answering questions, getting closure.
Bringing information back.
Yeah.
Like if the living have a question for the dead.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And through one of his jobs from another childhood friend, or another high school friend, he gets caught up in a scheme much bigger than he initially signed on for.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yep.
And then, that's pretty much the general synopsis of it. There's obviously much more detailed discrepancies in there, but
yeah,
that's generally what happens.
I really like the way the supernatural element of the book is played, where like there's not a lot of time spent on the world building, but you kind of get a sense of what everything is. Like it's kind of like this little there's a little bit of an adventure, a little bit of mysticism, but otherwise it's mostly the real world.
Yeah.
But like his dad is like some kind of magician. Like when they show the dad, he's like wearing like literally
straight
like
up Mickey
a magic
Mouse
costume.
robe, yeah.
Yeah, like the cone hat and everything.
Yeah.
And
which I thought was hilarious, worth noting. I thought that was hilarious.
But like the way like the way that is presented is he's presented as being like a weirdo. Like it's not necessarily
Even at the
normal.
funeral, like
Yeah,
someone makes
yeah,
a comment about it, and Heck goes, yeah, my dad was into some really weird stuff or something like that.
yeah.
But no,
So it's kind of a
yeah,
thing where it's like revealed that like, oh, some of this actually is real, and it's this doorway to hell is in the house.
right. Like Amy, the lady who hires him for the job that he's interested in, even is like, I don't know if I should believe you. I don't know how much I can believe you, and blah blah blah. But she's really skeptical to hire him at first. Even she's like, okay, this can't be for real. So, someone recommended me or you to me, but I can't really believe that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting too that yeah, like you were saying, it was there, the whole supernatural element, but it was like I didn't feel like it was really a main focus. It was more just like his adventure to the supernatural.
Yeah, I mean it really is more of an emotional story.
Yes, I noticed that very early on.
You just kind of set up this like, okay, there's a doorway to hell, and hell. I really like the way hell is portrayed, sort of in like the classic Dante's Inferno style. So there's a lot of, I mean, that is how it's portrayed. The different circles of hell, and like a lot of classic hell imagery is all involved here.
I mean,
so
very tame compared to like the Dante's Inferno hell imagery, thankfully.
Yeah,
but,
right. Yeah, it's not too like. There's nothing too grotesque.
Yeah, it's mostly just
But it's still like there's still an edge to it. Like it gets really heavy. Like
it gets
the story's
really heavy,
a little
really
dark.
fast.
Yeah. What genre would you say this book is?
Oh God, that's really hard.
Yeah, right. That's what I was trying to think.
It's really hard because like, oh man, I can't really like pinpoint it much. Because,
well, it's sold as being like a pulp adventure, which I think that's kind of the only way to pin it down.
I feel like that's still too like general.
It's still pretty broad.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I see it because a big focus is the adventure, but I don't feel like that's the main focus because I feel like the biggest main focus is his relationship building with Elliot.
That is like one of the big. Like I said, it's an emotional story, so it's really about character relationships.
That's the thing too. Is like I love a story that the characters developing are what moves the plot, not the other way around. Of the plot moving develops the characters, kind of thing. And this book had such good character development because it introduced me to Heck, and I'm like, this guy's kind of a wiener. Like whatever, he's kind of this like grizzled old well, not necessarily.
So he's kind of like a has-been who peaked in high school.
Yeah, and it introduced that really early, how he was star on the football team, and it talks about it really late in the book too, about how he was the talk of the town in the high school, and it's like it was interesting that like I think he even notes too that he didn't really want to do what his dad did and follow in his dad's footsteps.
Oh yeah, that was the whole foundation.
Yeah, and then it, eventually it all comes full circle, and he's like, I did, this was nice. I'm glad, or, it all comes full circle, and he realized that like it's not so bad that he followed in his dad's footsteps. And, oh man, I went into this book, literally not knowing a thing about it.
Right. Yeah, I didn't say word one about what it is.
All you said was that it was a Zander Cannon book. I saw the art, and I loved how it had that hand-drawn, hand-inked feel instead of like just being kind of like printed off sort of thing. It felt really genuine. And that struck me alone. And then when you were like you made a note that it was like hey, he's got this portal to hell in his basement. And that was pretty much all he said. Yeah. And then I get into it, and I'm like, man, this is phenomenal. This is so good. It made me feel so bad so often. It's like each respective level of hell that he went to, it gradually was chipping away at his character farther and farther. And like the one scene in particular that really, really had me, my heart beating and like I just wanted to know what was happening was when he is talking to the heretics in, I can't remember what level of hell it is. It's fairly far down. He's talking to the heretics and they keep telling him, you're not good enough. Your dad never loved you in the first place. Amy doesn't want anything to do with you. And he just kept powering through it the whole time. And I expected him to crack. Yeah, I expected him to crack. Like, I figured if anything's going to do it, that's what's going to do it. Because I guess it mentioned it after the fact of this happening is Amy was his big driving force behind doing this after a while. So
yeah. Well, yeah. So let's get into a little bit of the details of what the plot is. So you have Heck.
Yes.
And he's after his dad dies, he inherits the house, and he has the portal to hell.
Yeah, portal to hell in the basement.
And he sets up the business of going into hell to deliver information or bring back information. And his assistant is Elliot.
Yes.
Who is we meet Elliot in the prologue at the funeral.
And no one really seems to want him to be there. Either.
Well, nobody likes Elliot.
Yeah.
He's like this young, or not young, but he's a little like toady. Like he's always sucking up to Heck, and he's following Heck around, and he just kind of like wants to be Heck's best friend. And Heck really doesn't necessarily want anything to do with him because they establish really well that they're both tied together through high school. Because Heck doesn't want to be reminded of high school because high school was like the last time that he really felt good about himself.
Right.
And Elliot only wants to be reminded of high school because that was the last time that he felt good about himself. So they both are characters who are not happy with their like where they are in their lives, and so they're kind of both trying to they're trying to use each other. Well, I should say Elliot's trying to use him, and he doesn't want anything to do with Elliot because of what Elliot.
He's a reminder of his high school
reminds him of
career. Yeah.
So that's all in the prologue, and then
Elliot even notes too. He's like, "This is all I've got. Like I need to, I need to spend time with you. I need to help you do this." And that was the first time too that I noticed that Heck had a little bit more character than he initially was showing, because he was like, "You know what? Okay, you can help me out."
Yeah. So, and then chapter 1 of the story starts, and we jump forward in time a little bit. And
it's like a 3 or 5 year skip, I think. It's pretty substantial.
That Heck had started the business.
Yeah.
And what's her name?
Amy.
So yeah, we also meet Amy in the prologue.
Yes.
And Zander establishes that Heck kind of had a thing for Amy, but Amy got married to somebody else. So again, Heck does not he's not doing a good job of moving past high school. So the story, chapter 1 of the story proper starts, and Amy goes to Heck because she wants him to go into hell to take a letter to her husband who just recently died.
She's very skeptical of this, like we've noted, because obviously it's a lot of info to process.
Yeah, and we meet Elliot too right away, and Elliot is different now because he's like this little half man he's like a little mummy basically. He's covered head to toe in bandages, and he can't really talk very well. He like slurs. And
I thought it was a really interesting note too that you could kind of assume it was Elliot pretty quickly, but it was interesting that it didn't come right out and say it until Amy asked, just for that little niche of readers that didn't pick up on it. At first, in my head, I was like, I think it's Elliot, but maybe not. Maybe something else happened. And then they reveal it, and I'm like, oh, man, poor guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, of course, that becomes, like, a big plot point of what happened to Elliot.
Plot point, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and Heck mentions, like, something happened to him in hell.
In a certain level.
On one of their past adventures.
Yeah.
So Amy signs a contract with Heck. Heck's going to go into hell and deliver this letter. He's got to find her husband and deliver this letter. And it's set up sort of like it's almost like a standard mystery. Like how you said, like it starts off like an easy job, and then as the story unfolds, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and
especially because he's getting into progressively harder, or not harder, progressively deeper levels of hell, which are starting to chip away at him more so.
So the further he goes into hell, the more complicated the story gets, and new information comes to light, and it keeps getting worse and worse.
It's worth noting too that he deciphers what her husband was doing to try to figure out what level of hell he's in, and he's in a level of hell below a level that Elliot got his big injuries in. So at first, Elliot's really like, he's saying a couple words like no, Heck, don't do it, stuff like that. And, that comes into play later when I believe the liars are saying something about it, but, it's that first exposure to, like, Heck keeps him around because he's handy, but it doesn't really seem like he respects him, especially after the injuries. And, I feel bad for him.
Heck, I think Heck and Elliot's relationship is really kind of like the main story here.
Yes.
Which I really like because it's such a small part of the plot, but it really is like the main emotional story.
Yeah, because it starts becoming a big driving force to Heck specifically.
So there are two really, really cool huge plot points, rules of the world that really help in the storytelling of this book, what makes it so interesting. First is the way Heck can communicate with people outside of hell while he's in hell.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Sometimes it was sort of hard to tell, too, and I like that because it made me have to reread a couple pages, and I go, oh, wait, he's communicating to her right now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, he has a magic ring that he has to have a link to her, so he takes some of her hair and ties it to the ring. So now he can communicate with her. But he can only communicate with her through periods in history whenever she was committing a sin. So the way it's established is he will deliver a message through this ring, speaking into this ring, and whatever level of hell he's in, that sin, whenever a certain point in her life when she committed that sin is when she will gain the information.
Yes. And
he does it really well in saying because hell is outside of time. There is no time in hell.
And they make note of that a couple times too throughout the story.
So he the way he says it is, I've already given you the information, you just didn't realize it yet. And so you need to start thinking about this and go through your diaries, read about, try to remember times when you were committing a specific sin and think about what was going on, and you will get it. And so, what was one of that first specific example?
I'm trying to find where that specific example was. Oh, it's at the football game. That was the first. Yeah, she's writing in her diary about it. Yeah, and.
Right, so she thinks back. There's a flashback to her at the football game.
Yeah, and she goes home after the football game and ends up writing in her diary. And when she finds the diary in current time, she realizes that.
What was the sin? Lust? That's the first circle of hell.
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah, it has to be lust because she's talking. All the people at the game are talking about how she has a crush on her now ex-husband, or her now deceased husband.
It's the second circle, because the first circle is limbo.
Yeah.
And he goes through limbo, and then he gets to the second circle, and he sends her the first message, and the second circle is lust, and she's writing in her diary about how she has feelings for the quarterback for the other team, which is the guy that she eventually married.
Yeah, in current time, she says, did I even know who Elliot was then? And she goes,
yeah.
Huh, well, I'll be damned. That was her first exposure to how she was being communicated through.
Because she reads back her old diary passage and realizes that what she wrote was the message that Hex was speaking to her.
Which is surreal. That was really hard to wrap my head around initially. Because, jumps back and forth from past time to current time to hell to real world, like really seamlessly. It doesn't really like warn you or anything. It just goes right into it.
Yeah, there is a surreal nature to the story because, like once Heck goes into hell, like you said, it's really like there is a linear timeline of Heck going through hell, but it keeps cutting in and out, back and forth across Amy's life as she's getting the various information that he's sending her through, as he goes through the different levels of hell and as she committed those various sins in her life.
Right.
So that's one of the interesting tricks of the story that really allow Zander to do some really fun stuff with the surreal narrative of the story.
Right.
I thought that was one of the cooler ideas.
Oh, I mean, it was great, especially because, like I said, it threw me off really bad. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't necessarily just blast through the book. I had to really focus and try to figure out what period of time it is and what level of hell it is, and because it never really some of the times it just doesn't blatantly say we're in this level of hell. We're in this level of hell. It shows when they're transferring to a new level of hell. They're on the river Styx or whatnot, and that's really the biggest indicator of it. Speaking of the river, the scene where he's with the I can't remember the thing's name, the person doing the boat on the river Styx. Yeah,
Charon.
And the scene where he has to put the pennies in his eyes or whatever, and he starts freaking out about it really bad, and that was really surreal.
Well, and that's actually the second thing I was just about to say.
Yeah.
The other rule of this story that really brings the storytelling to life is that because hell is outside of time, it plays with your memory. So you don't really remember anything in hell. So and Heck mentions this, he's got this company that he set up and he's doing these jobs, but he doesn't really remember what hell is actually like, because when he gets out of hell, his brain doesn't process it because it's a different dimension,
right?
It's a different thing. So he has to have he has to have the contract to always keep, when he's in hell, to keep him focused on the mission, the job that he has to do.
Because it gets really real a lot of times in hell.
Right. And so that scene then, so he gets down, he goes into hell and he meets Charon and he has to put the coins on his eyes, and then the coins won't come off. Yeah. And that's when he remembers, suddenly he realizes, how terrible hell is.
Because it makes a note of it a couple chapters later where he's like, I thought I was going to be good. I thought I remembered all this, and I didn't. I forgot how bad it really was.
Right, exactly. So then you're hit with this realization of, every time he does a job, he, has to go through this, own personal hell, this, freak out of how he has to experience hell for the first time every time.
Every time,
basically, yeah.
And it's it's worth noting, too, that Charon didn't recognize him on the river Styx,
right?
And it explains that later. But it's in my head at first I was like, he has been down here a bunch. He keeps telling Charon, "Come on, man, you know me.
Right?
What's the deal here? You know me." And it was it did such a good job of stringing me along with a carrot kind of thing. I'm just in my head, all I can think of is, man, I can't wait to get the realization of that. And it keeps, trying to... Oh, yeah, the scene that it gets to right after he gets off the river Styx, where he's in the field with the flying babies or whatever, that scene was really sad. Because the babies are in...
It's the unbaptized
babies, yeah, and the Pope says that the babies are blameless, so they all just start leaving.
Yeah, and the babies just float up to heaven.
And this guy that's talking to him is, saying, me and my wife tried for years and we couldn't have a family. I thought with these babies here, with someone to love finally, even in this place, maybe we could finally be happy. It shattered my heart. Because I'm like, oh man, I mean, like, it's hell, but...
Right. Well, it's the first circle is limbo, which is basically, limbo, like in the classic, Dante's Inferno, that is the place for unbaptized babies, and basically, like, virtuous pagans.
Yeah.
So, people who are not necessarily bad, but they don't accept Christ. And so they're all stuck in limbo, which is a place that's not really good or bad. It's like purgatory, like it's just sort of
the guy,
place.
Mr. Grossman, the guy that Heck's talking to, even says something about that. He's like, nothing makes sense here. Things just happen. Good things, bad things, but there's nothing holding it all together. There's no purpose.
Right.
And, like, there's a really nice panel at the end of that scene of Heck just, like, staring out on this open field, and it seems just like him kind of realizing, like, maybe he's right. You know, he's kind of having that second guess thing. And I thought it was really, I don't know, I want to say cute, but I don't know if that's really the right word in the context of the book. How Heck still makes it a point to, like, help Elliot walk through these circles and stuff, because he knows Elliot's really scared, because he doesn't want to get hurt again. If it's not apparent enough by the fact that he's completely mummified, essentially, something really bad happened. And it did a really good job of, like, making me wonder what happened and not necessarily just straight up telling me, like, exactly what happened. Because it was that level of mystery of, like, maybe it's going to explain it later in the book or whatever. But, yeah, I really liked this beginning of the exposure to their relationship and how specifically weird it is, I guess. Because I guess, you know, he feels responsible for what happened to Elliot. And as would I. I mean, apparently that is what happened. It was Heck's fault or something.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, stuff starts getting really real right in the dead center of this book after he gets through this field. He starts having to do with the Minotaur, or I believe,
that's whenever he... Well, first it's Minos.
Yeah.
Minos is the guardian, or he guards the gate to the second hell, and he's the one who sentences the soul. Like when you go,
you have to go to your what level you're going to go to.
Yeah, you go through the first circle, you go through limbo, and then you meet Minos, and Minos sentences you to your sin, to whichever circle you belong in. Right. And that's when, like, again, the whole, like, story of every time Heck does this, he's sentenced to the circle that he belongs in because of his sins. And it's not said at this point. He's given his sentence and he sees what it is, and every time he does this, he's reminded of what his great sin is.
Right.
And it's obvious. It's not said so. It's revealed later on about it's because of what he did to Elliot.
Right.
And so basically Heck has to go through these levels of hell looking for Amy's husband. He's supposed to be in the let's see, which circle is he supposed to be in?
The husband? Thieves.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in the thieves, with the thieves, but
as we come to find out, he is.
Yeah,
not.
Basically, he gets there, and the husband isn't there, and he meets
one
of the guys. The other people that were involved.
He meets one of the first people earlier in a level or two before when he meets the tree.
The suicides. Yeah. He meets the suicides because basically the way the plot is that Amy's husband and some of his coworkers were in doing some insider trading, like embezzling money.
Yeah.
And then they died in a car accident.
Yeah, all four of them, I believe.
All four of them died in a car accident. So Heck gets to, like, the seventh circle, and he gets to the suicides, and he sees one of the guys that was involved in this plot. And he realized that this guy is not with the other thieves, he's with the suicides because he was the one that was driving the car, and he purposely crashed the car to commit suicide. Because he had revealed that they had all been caught at their scheme, and he figured that there was no way out, so it would just be better for them all to die.
Right. Which
And so
that scene and that lead up to the following scene it was another really jarring scene in this book. How the tree asked him to break the branch off, because I think he was like, this is really all I've got. This is really all I can feel. It hurts a lot, but it's a different kind of hurt, and it made me have to kind of I guess reel back for a minute, because it was interesting too how they kept flopping between Amy talking to this kid growing up and him Heck talking to the tree and realizing who it was and how he knew, and then he breaks the tree's branch off, and it's really, really sad and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because it just keeps throwing me fastballs like, hey, you're gonna be sad again. I'm like, oh man, how we were just talking about the Minos thing, how him and Elliot split up for the first time, and
yeah.
I now that you say this, I didn't really catch early on that Heck had to keep experience, how you said he has to keep experiencing hell for the first time every time. I didn't catch that the first time reading. I guess I thought these things that were happening to him were new and were things that have never happened to him before.
Right.
So that kind of adds a lot more emotional weight to it.
Yeah. So
he still keeps doing it, even though it keeps taking such a toll on him.
Well, it's because every time he gets out of hell, he forgets about it.
Oh, right, yeah.
So he gets out and he remembers it was bad, some bad stuff went down.
Nothing specific,
but he doesn't really feel it the way you feel it when you're actually in hell.
Right.
So that's kind of one of the running themes here is the way one of the running themes is memory, and how we feel things in different times, and in hell you don't remember hell because it's not a part of you. It's not
and
a part
you said, it's out of
reality.
time, and it's out of reality.
Yeah. So Heck continues through hell. He gets through the suicides, and they have to get to that's when they come to Geryon or Geryon. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. The Greek mythological creature. A lot of these, if you read Dante's Inferno, a lot of these characters like Minos, the Minotaur, they're all parts of Greek mythology because that's what Dante was writing about.
Right.
So.
Yeah, after the Forest of Suicides in hell, he gets to the waterfall, which is he either made it to the bottom of the waterfall or to the waterfall the last time that they did, or the time that Elliot got hurt.
Yeah, so, this was where Elliot got hurt.
Yeah, and this is where he starts kind of really, really connecting with Elliot. And this was the part that I really started to go, I was really happy that he was starting to, get him. He's like, I know this part's bad, but we gotta press on. We gotta do it. And,
Yeah, this scene was done really well.
Yes.
I
just read it.
Heck keeps talking about Geryon, how he's this horrible monster. He's going to be the worst thing that they have to deal with. And then Geryon shows up, and he is basically just a big floating head.
Yeah.
And he's basically just really nice.
He's like the coolest dude ever. That's what's so funny about it.
Right. And that's what Geryon. I mean, that's what he is. Dante's in the Dante's Inferno, Geryon is the image of a fraud. It's the face of an honest man, but with the body of a beast. So, and that's what Geryon is.
You can kind of see it
story.
in the first time that they show him to when he floats up out of the cavern and he's talking to these guys. He's got the little a silhouette of a scorpion tail behind him.
Right.
So you can kind of see that something's off.
It's the head. It's a giant floating head of a nice guy, but sticking out of the back of his head is a little scorpion tail.
Yeah, and when Heck starts talking to him for the first time, Zander Cannon did the way he drew it. It looked like Heck was drunk. he had these like bubbles around him and stuff.
Yeah,
and
because he was totally like
entranced.
seduced.
Yeah.
Entranced is a good way to put it. Yeah, and because they need Garyon to take them down
He's the elevator,
to the next level.
Yeah.
Basically, and that's the big scene where you find out what happened to Elliot. Basically, the last time they were there, Garyon convinced Heck that he didn't need Elliot because Elliot is just a big suck up who doesn't deserve to be around Heck.
Right.
And Heck let Garyon eat Elliot. And then it's not really explained in detail. Basically, like when Heck talks about it outside of Hell, when he's explaining to Amy, he basically just says some bad stuff went down, and I scooped up what was left of him, and brought him back, and then bandaged him back together. So it's not really like deliberately said what happens to him, but basically he's like a half person now.
Yeah.
Like he's been completely destroyed, like not just physically, but like mentally. Like
it's
Garyon
worth noting too
like,
that even though he destroyed him mentally and physically, right before Garyon takes him down, Elliot does his little big speech. You let me get hurt here. I'm slow. I'm weak. I'm not very smart. But I'm gonna stick with you. You're my hero.
Yeah.
It's like,
Elliot,
oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh.
Elliot stays with Heck.
Yeah. Even though they're at the part that Heck got him or let him get eaten last time.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout this whole passage of them talking to Garyon, Elliot keeps saying Heck, Heck, Heck.
Yeah, Heck, yeah.
And he keeps ignoring him. He's still entranced with Garyon. And, throughout this whole thing, there's a ton of exposition of them talking to each other about Amy, about what's happening on the outside world, and he finally just gets to him and says, I'm starving, Heck. Just let me take him. And it starts setting up the chain of events that happened the first time.
Yes.
And then he stabbed Elliot, and I freaked out.
Yeah, he completely impales Elliot with his scorpion tail, and that's the big scene where Heck has to make the decision to let Garyon eat Elliot again, or if he's going to do something about it. And this time, I guess this time as opposed to other times, he does something about it, and because he's got a shotgun, and he just fires point blank into Garyon's head, and they just collapse and fall to the ground. And so,
he's like, you don't want to hurt me, you'll fall. Like, you'll fall too, Hector. You'll fall, and he says, "I believe you," and does it anyway.
Yeah,
and it's really, oh man, that was such a good scene.
It's a really good scene.
Oh my god, I just caught a glimpse of the aftermath of him shooting him point blank.
Yeah.
And it's like from the bridge of his nose up is just gone.
Yeah, he blasts a hole like right through.
Yeah. Man, that was such a good scene to develop Heck and Elliot's relationship, despite Elliot only saying like 3 words maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all just him saying Heck, Heck, and Heck just keeps ignoring him, and he finally stood up for him, and it was nice because the whole book, he stands up for Elliot in a way, but most of the time he just kind of like shuffles him off, and it's like, man, this dude like essentially gave his life for you. Well, not gave his life, but as close to it as you can without actually dying. But yeah, I really really like that scene, and then right when they fall to the bottom of the waterfall. Elliot's gone, and it's like you can tell that Heck is just devastated by this. So that was where I started getting really antsy. I was just like, oh man, like I don't be gone, Elliot, please.
Yeah. So Heck gets to the next level, and Elliot is gone.
Yes.
And he's basically all by himself, and this is when he starts to panic because. This is where like the weight of Hell is really pushing down on him, and suddenly he like remembers,
especially because he's alone.
Yeah, he's alone, and he remembers how terrible this is, and it's basically just like the worst experience any human being could ever go through, and so he just wants to get this done, get this over with, find Elliot, and leave.
Yeah.
So
that's when he runs into his dad.
Yeah, that's where he meets his dad. Because his dad. His dad is in a specific area of hell. It's in the it's not really I guess that's one thing about this book. It's not really necessary for reading the book, but Zander doesn't really like hold your hand when it comes to like explaining the levels of hell.
Right.
But he is really adhering to the classic Dante's Inferno. So this specific, it's the 8th level, which is fraud, and then that's broken up into like a bunch of different sections.
Yeah. The level with his dad is the section for sorcerers.
Correct. Yeah, it's specifically the section for sorcerers and other false prophets. And so they have their heads twisted around on their bodies and they're backwards, which that's something that you catch in the art, but it's not really explained why it is that way.
Right.
But yeah, that's you notice like his dad's there and his head's on backwards, and they have like a little moment. You know, he basically tells him that he's like he doesn't like he's not mad at him.
Yeah.
And he's proud of him.
Right, and he helps him try to figure out where Elliot might be because he thinks Elliot died.
Yes. Yeah. So he has to find the level of hell where Elliot is.
Which is flattery. He's a
flatterer. Yeah, Elliot is a flatterer because he's always sucking up to Heck and making Heck feel good about himself.
Yeah. And it's really worth noting too that as he's running to this level, to this ditch of flatterers, like he is legitimately like panicked.
Yeah,
Zander did it right. He doesn't want to lose his friend or his, I guess, friend, sidekick.
Well, it becomes more than that because like, Heck feels indebted to Elliot.
Right, because he got him eaten.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, he's looking for Elliot, and he can't find him in that level.
Right, because the dad even notes if they're still alive, their story's not over. They won't be here.
Right. If he's alive, then he's not going to be in hell.
Right.
Like he might be in hell, but he won't be a soul in hell.
Right.
So he eventually goes to the thieves section.
Yeah, he gets to the thieves section to find.
He gets to the thieves section, and he can't find the husband.
Yeah.
But he finds another one of the cohorts.
Oh, he contacts Amy in this level, and he says, Amy, before I go in there and talk to your husband for you, I just have something to say. And he confesses his love to Amy.
That's right, yeah. So before he's in the level of thieves, and that's where he leaves the message to Amy, telling him that he loves her, and he feels terrible about this whole experience, and that's where he forgets how terrible hell is. And
right. He says that him loving her is like the only way to fight back against how terrible all this stuff is.
So his love for Amy is like the only thing that's keeping him sane in hell.
Keeping him going, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he delivers that message to her. And then he goes into the thieves' circle, and he can't find the husband.
Yeah.
And
he finds the other cohort.
He finds the other cohort, and the other cohort says that the husband's not in the thieves.
He knew something that they didn't.
Right, because he was keeping something from them.
Yes.
So that means he's further down.
Yeah. Which is farther than Heck has ever gone.
Yeah. Heck's never been this far into hell.
Yeah.
And so Heck goes to the 9th circle, which is the furthest down, the final circle, and he finds the husband for the traitors.
Yep.
Because the husband was gonna betray all of the friends with or he betrayed it because he betrayed Amy.
Yes.
That's why the husband is a traitor.
Because he lied to Amy. Yeah.
Because he lied to Amy about the whole thing, and that's where you get the big plot twist. This is the big reveal, and
wow, I love that plot twist.
It's done so well, and I was a little concerned like whether or not we were going to get into like full spoilers for this book or not, because it's a really good read.
It's a really good read when you don't know what's coming, because I didn't have any idea that the plot twist was coming, and the second it hit me, I just went, wow, didn't expect that at all.
So if you're listening to this and you are kind of interested in reading Heck,
alert.
Yeah, well, I just recommend you stop listening right now and just go read Heck, and then you can
and then come back.
Then come back and listen to it. But we are going to talk about it because it's really good and that's what we're here for. But I will say that it's a really good reveal. Like, it's a lot of times I don't really care about spoilers because you can just enjoy the story for what it is, and you don't need to be surprised. But
I feel like this was a big deal. That it
this
was
was well, it's
spoiler.
just done really well, and partially just because of like the book. It reads like it's a really breezy read,
Yes, it
so
went really
you
fast.
just kind of fly you fly through it, and you get all the information really easily. Like, it's not, but there's like a fast pace to the story.
Yes.
And it all builds up to this moment where Amy's husband is in the ninth circle with the traitors, and so Heck finds him, and he's frozen in ice, and so he can't give the letter to the husband. So Heck has to read it.
Yeah, he has to read it out loud.
Yeah, so Heck pulls out the letter and he reads it out loud. And as
it's worth noting too that the husband was. He even said, you made my life a living hell by me not being able to live up to you.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of
adds
to the depth.
That's a nice little moment about about everybody's personal hell and what is hell.
Yeah, and especially like we were saying, like Heck did peak in high school,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, that was his heaven.
And the husband had the one thing that Heck wanted and couldn't have.
Yeah, which was Amy.
Amy, right?
Yeah. So Heck reads the letter to the husband, and as he's reading the letter, he realizes that the things that Amy is writing is the message that he had just delivered to her when he was in the thieves' circle.
Yep.
And the reveal is that Amy was the mastermind who orchestrated all of their thieving. She was the thief, and the husband, the reason he's in treachery is because he was going to betray her, and he did betray her and took all the money for himself.
But what I believe was Amy did the math, I guess, to it and made the payout much larger than the husband intended.
Yes.
Yes, and there's that
and that's
really
also
nice...
what got them caught.
Right, that was the one that got them caught. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in the computers. It took me to take it to the next level. I figured out the loophole. The take was 9 times what you'd imagined or what you'd managed. No one suspected a thing.
Mm-hmm. So they were all thieves, but Amy was like the biggest thief.
Yeah, like there's that really, really nice panel at the end of all this reveal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a big, dark shadowed panel of her writing the message.
For
and
writing
it says,
the letter, yeah.
"Where's that Dropbox, you son of a bitch?"
You son of a bitch.
Oh
yeah.
man,
so
that was such a good panel.
The whole letter that she was sending Heck, like, it was originally sent as she just wanted closure from her husband, who died suddenly. And then the reveal is that really she wants the information on where the husband hid the Dropbox with all the money that she told him to steal.
Right. So Heck goes into this thinking that it's, like you said, like it's going to be closure. And then he, as well as the husband, get that big get that big reveal of like, whoa, Amy's way worse than we both thought. Whoa.
Exactly. And again, it just flows so well. Like, the story just it's tied together really nicely. And so Heck has this realization that Amy betrayed him. Basically, she lied to him. She sent him on this mission to hell for the wrong reasons, and now he's like deep in hell, and Elliot's gone, and he's basically like really at like the lowest point.
Right, he feels like that everything that just happened until now wasn't really worth it. I guess. And it's worth noting too that the husband is just like obliterated by this, and he just doesn't beat around the bush, doesn't waste any time, instantly just says, well, it's inside a tree, and he's like, I guess that's it.
On the street corner.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's it, I'm in hell.
Right, I guess that was pretty much the only closure we needed.
Yeah. And so, again, it's tied together really nicely. So Heck is in the ninth circle for treachery, and that's where he delivers the message to Amy where to find the Dropbox. And he says it like, Heck's pissed. And he delivers the message. He says, this is where to find the Dropbox, and I know exactly when you're going to get this information. And it shows, it like flashes back to just before the quest starts, and Amy signs the contract, and Heck's going to go into hell. And Amy walks out of the house, and suddenly she is
just like has the epiphany.
Just has the epiphany of where it is, because she had just betrayed Heck.
Yeah.
She, that treachery. That was her sin that she had just committed.
Which
right there.
is so amazing of a full circle thing.
Yeah, exactly. It really, like, the whole story, it's so intricate, but not at all like needlessly complex.
No, it works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
it, like you said, it was right whenever she betrayed Heck, so that would make sense that she would get that right then. They didn't really have to, like, shoehorn that in. It worked in the context of everything, and it revealed that, it didn't have to reveal it right in the beginning. It didn't have to have some stupid panel of her walking out of the building, like, looking back at the building all conniving and whatnot. It happened really organically, and that's really great. Yeah, that threw me off really bad whenever that happened. The second she walked out of the building, she just has these big, gigantic, wide eyes, and I'm like, what happened? I didn't piece it together at first, and I read it again, and I'm like, oh my god, that's where she betrayed Heck. That's where she just got the message. Okay, that makes sense. But since the book flows so smooth, like I said, I didn't catch it the first time, so I'm glad that it flowed so smooth, so I could. It wasn't really a hassle to go back and just catch it again. So,
Right.
Oh man, that was intense. That was so good.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that plot is basically wrapped up right there, and then Heck finds himself at the center of hell. He goes through the last circle, and now
finds Elliot.
Yeah, he finds Elliot in the center of hell with Satan.
Yes.
So this is the furthest he's ever been into hell. This is where Satan is, the direct center, and basically Satan just tells him, you can leave. Just leave Elliot here. There's your path to escape. And basically Heck is completely
forlorn, kind of like.
He's just completely defeated.
Yeah.
Like, he just had been betrayed by Amy. He's staring at the face of Satan, and he just freaks out and just leaves. Like, he just turns and runs. And as he's leaving, Satan is laughing at him.
Yes.
And then he starts to have second thoughts about the whole thing.
He's laughing because Elliot starts saying something to Satan.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Elliot whispers something to Satan, and Satan starts laughing.
Yeah, starts laughing his head off.
Yeah.
And that's when Heck starts having the second thoughts about everything.
Yeah. So Heck turns around and let's see.
Finds a sword in a dead body.
The sword. Yeah, he just finds a sword. Like,
yeah.
I forget if the sword was supposed to be something or not. I don't know.
It's in a body that just says 22 on it.
It's one of the angels.
Yeah. One of the dead angels. Yeah.
Because that's another thing that I did really like. We didn't talk about that. How the angels and the demons are depicted. I really liked that they're just depicted as, like, blank
figures with a number
completely on. Like, featureless figures. They're just like
they're like bowling pins.
Yeah, exactly. They're like bowling pins with numbers on their heads.
Yeah.
But the angels have wings.
And the devils have tiny little horns on the top of the devil.
Well, the demons have little horns, but then they also have, like, bandages on their backs where their wings were cut off.
Yes. No, I just noticed that, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that because you see that primarily in the chapter 16 splash page.
Mm-hmm.
So I just saw it was chapter 16 and kept going. I didn't see that initially. So that's a really nice touch.
Yeah. So Heck takes the sword and starts fighting his way through the demons to go save Elliot.
Yeah, because he realizes that Elliot's still here. This is really all he's got left. He needs to go save him.
Yeah, Elliot is all he has, and so he fights through a bunch of demons and he grabs Elliot, and in order to escape, all they have to do is just climb past Satan. That's how Dante and Virgil in the original, Dante's Inferno. That's how they get through hell. Is they just climb past Satan, and they pass through, like, the center of the earth, and then they just kind of, like, pop up on the other side of Earth. So that's like the path out. And so he basically Heck fights through a bunch of demons, and he's climbing over Satan. He's getting past Satan, and that's when Satan reveals to Heck what Elliot had whispered to him.
Heck's about to die.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's
poked
like a pincushion.
No, I totally messed that up. Yeah, because
he's about to die, and he's
Heck's
just getting
fighting.
obliterated. He throws Elliot into the boat.
That's right. Yeah, he basically saves Elliot. He throws Elliot out, but then in the end, the demons
are just stabbing the crap
wailing
out
on
of
him. Yeah,
and he's just sitting here with a pitchfork in his midsection. Just he can't even do anything, and he finally just says, "Do it, just do it, kill me."
Yeah, just kill me, send me to hell.
And then Satan says,
leave
"Hold
me
on,
here."
Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. And Satan says, and this is what's really really important. And Satan says, what Elliot had whispered to him was that Elliot forgives Heck.
Yep.
Elliot forgives Heck.
Why would he do that?
Yeah, and Satan laughs and he goes, "Believe me, I have no idea."
Yeah. He says, but boy, look at you. I wish I had thought of it. So then, don't be a stranger. And he just tosses him out of hell.
Well, because, and this was what's important,
right.
Elliot forgives Heck for Heck's sin of betrayal. Because Heck was going to end up in the traitors.
Right.
Because he betrayed Elliot by feeding Elliot to Geryon. But since Elliot forgave him, the sin was erased. So now, if Heck were to be killed, he wouldn't end up in hell. So Satan had no reason to keep him. Yeah, to hold on to him.
Okay.
That's what was going on there. So that
I didn't see that. I didn't catch that. That's that adds a lot more depth to that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a really heavy ending.
It is.
Where
Elliot, it was already I already enjoyed it enough where he saved Elliot and
Yeah. So Elliot is really like the hero of the story.
He's the true hero. Yeah.
He saves Heck, and
it's he doesn't remember much from hell. But it's worth noting that after they get out of hell this time, he's shown to respect Elliot a little bit more. It seems.
Well, yeah, that's the big epilogue.
Yeah.
So since Elliot forgives Heck, and so Satan lets him leave, and then that's just the end. That's the end of the story, and then we get the epilogue.
The epilogue, of Amy coming back to pay him.
Mm-hmm. So Amy comes back to pay Heck for the job well done, because she came into some money recently. And she wants to really make sure Heck is compensated for everything that he did. And Heck doesn't really remember anything from the adventure.
I remember it being hard.
As he established.
Really hard.
He just says he remembers it being like the hardest one that he's done. Like it was really hard, but he doesn't really remember any specific details. It's just
I remember feeling so sad when I came back, but I can't remember why. That's what he says.
Yeah, so, because, I also liked the way that was done, the whole, time and space thing, because when at the beginning of the story, he goes into hell, there's a little metal sign hanging above the doorway, and he slaps it, and it goes ting, and then when he escapes hell, he suddenly is standing there again, as the sign, under the sign, and the sign goes ting.
Right.
So it's almost like you're not even sure of how much time has actually passed. How long was he actually in hell? Only for a second.
Even the husband was I've only been dead for 4 days. I've lost count of many times I've been down.
Yeah, exactly.
Hundreds of times.
So again, the whole thing is time has no meaning in hell.
Right.
Which is one of the fundamental philosophies of hell. That's why it's hell.
Right.
So in the epilogue, Heck doesn't remember anything, and Amy comes back. Heck doesn't remember anything about Amy, and she pays him, and she asks him out on a date, and basically, Heck kind of he's suddenly
he's
everything.
That sounds fantastic, and then it cuts off, and Elliot walks up with drinks.
Elliot walks into the room, and suddenly, Heck's memory is triggered by Elliot.
He
sees
suddenly different depictions of Elliot hurt and, dead.
Yeah, and he remembers everything that Elliot did for him. Elliot saved his life, and he has a total breakdown. And he just he starts hugging Elliot and crying, he can't believe everything that's happened. And then he remembers all the stuff about Amy.
It's okay, Heck.
Yeah, exactly. And Elliot just says it's okay, and that's it. And then he basically tells Amy to leave. He doesn't want anything to do with her.
He says, "Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe I'll see you around town, huh?"
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And so Amy gets all in a huff.
Yeah,
and
she
just
gets
leaves.
a sour face and leaves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's it.
And that's the end of the book.
What a perfect ending. Man.
So it's a powerful ending.
It is, because it's, like I said, you note just from the, he even makes a little passing comment. These are really good sandwiches, Elliot. Thanks. And he respects Elliot so much more after the events of this trip to hell specifically.
Mm-hmm. Well, and specifically, like, he thanks Elliot, and I think that's like the trigger of, like, he really, like, when he says thanks, like, that's when he suddenly remembers everything that he actually needs to be thankful for Elliot. Really good ending. Like, the whole book,
it was like a little
really
bow
builds
on that little character development between those two, because it doesn't start off with that's their relationship, or the relationship's going to be the main point of the book, but it eventually evolves into that, especially whenever the big plot twist happens that Amy was masterminding the whole thing.
Yeah.
Then it really gets into, their relationship was really the thing that developed, and that was the main focus of the book, I felt like. And Heck's, overcoming his personal demons kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, that was a really stellar book. That was really great. I'm really glad I read it.
What did you think, or what do you think about Amy basically getting away with her crime?
Oh, man. It's really tough, because at first I was really kind of like, man, that's it? She gets away with it? But then I kind of was like, you know what? It's kind of okay, because now, like, Heck was the hero, Elliot was the hero, and they kind of are at this good neutral place with each other now. And
and also, like, according, like, the way the story goes, she's going to end up in hell.
Yeah, because she'll end up pretty low too on the totem.
She's in the thieves. She'll be,
because she was stealing.
Or the betrayers, actually, because that's where.
Yeah, she betrayed her husband.
Yeah. So she will.
I'd say ultimately, though, I was okay with it, because the ending that they gave us, or the conclusion that they gave us of Heck and Elliot. Heck realizing that he didn't really want anything to do with Amy after he realized how important Elliot was to him, and how much Elliot didn't like Amy. And he, Elliot kept saying it through the whole story, like, I don't like her, Heck, don't do this, blah blah blah. And he finally listened, and it was okay. So her getting the money, but at the cost of her being out of the picture, I'd say it was okay.
Yeah, well, like I said, like, there's still, like, a morality.
She has her retribution coming.
Like, yeah, exactly. There's still the whole, like, afterlife morality, the eternal, the eternity of hell. Like, Amy can look forward to hell. Heck has escaped hell. So
Elliot forgave him. That was his
Elliot
sin.
forgave him. Yeah. And so it still is sort of like a, like, it's still a good ending. Like, it's still a happy ending.
Yeah. And it didn't really leave me with any unanswered questions either. Like, everything felt answered in full circle.
The whole story is summed up really nicely. Like, it's really quaint.
It is.
Like, I really dig it.
I wouldn't say that it started that way either, but I'd say it finished that way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, it all came together really well.
Yeah.
That's I guess what I should be getting at. It's Zander Cannon set up this story, like, basically, like, here are the rules of how this story is going to go, and everything just flowed perfectly, like, in and out of all these different rules.
It's interesting too that, like, hell was really more background than I expected it to be, because Cannon realized that, like, the fact that they're in hell isn't the main focus, like we said before. It's just they just happen to be in hell, and it was a catalyst for, Heck encountering his personal demons and overcoming them, but it wasn't really, like, they could have just done it in any other mythological setting, I guess, but it was just, like, they were just in hell. It just was kind of there.
Yeah.
I started that off with a good thought, and then I didn't really know how to end it.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure where you were going with that.
Well, like
But
I
it's all right.
started, yeah, I started it, and then I forgot where to go with it. But yeah,
Yeah, that's okay.
overall, hell was really a background thing, and it was nice. Like he
Hmm.
didn't really have to throw it in our face, like, hey, don't forget they're in hell, don't forget that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did it. What I really liked about the story was how um, the art is like inoffensive. Like there's nothing there, as I said earlier, there's nothing really like grotesque or gory about the
No,
art, but like you still feel like the terror of hell. Like you still like in the
it's kind
story,
of
like
like
the
the
way the story is
emptiness of
told.
it is really what's a big terrifying factor of it. Like there's certain levels that seem kind of big and populated and whatever, but then he gets
Hmm.
to the lower levels and it's like the thieves level is just like snakes and corpses.
Right. I mean, it's all. This is all like hell as depicted in this story. Heck is the Dante's Inferno version of hell.
Just
So
a
it's all
very calm, or not a calm, but like a non-obtrusive version of it. Like we're
well.
not
It's
getting
just not the. It's not like the classic like fire and brimstone everywhere. Everybody's just like being eaten alive by demons all the time. It's
right.
very specific in like with the layers and
Especially
what the
with the angels
specific
and demons, being very
well
featureless
and the
and
specific punishments for the people who are in different
right.
levels of hell. So that's what this that's what the setting of hell is in this. But like I said, even with that, like the art never really like tries to shock you with like the nature of hell.
Not once really.
But like I said, you still feel the weight of it through like the character interactions.
Right.
Like you feel Heck's experience of hell. Like
Especially
you
because Cannon did a good job of letting us know like this is really hitting Heck pretty hard.
yeah.
Especially since like you were saying, he has to encounter the first time through hell every time.
Mhm.
So yeah, I felt like that imagery specifically was really powerful and not really uncomfortable. It felt pretty
Yeah,
organic.
yeah, it's just really it's a really well done book. It's really obvious why it was nominated for an Eisner.
Oh, it deserved it
It yeah
tenfold.
it did not win an Eisner, but I think it probably should have.
But yeah, that was Heck. Um, obviously, we both recommended highly. We both are Zander Cannon fans.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, I hope that we didn't necessarily spoil the book for you, but we did give you warning, so
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think you can still enjoy the
yeah,
book.
without the surprise, just from having those two develop into the way
Mhm.
they did. Though it's worth noting that the surprise is very substantial when it first comes out, but I feel like there's enough there to cushion it if you do have it, if you do already know about the surprise from whatever. So yeah, I think that book was astounding. I'm
Yeah.
really glad I got to read it.
Yeah, it's a really good book.
Yeah,
I mean like you said, I'm a big fan of Xander Cannon. Like he's got a really fun art style, and he's got the, the dude's got style.
yes,
Like the Replacement God also has like it's like a cool fantasy book, uh, but it's got style. Like it's cool stuff.
yeah,
But Heck definitely like I was looking forward to the book. I was expecting to enjoy it, but I was really impressed, not just for being like a cool book with style, but how well the story was told. Like
yeah.
it
It like
really
sucked us into the
was.
world really fast, and like didn't it didn't need to do this gigantic buildup of like what hell was and what was going on in the real world, that hell was a real thing, and blah blah blah. It just kind of assumed that we would just get it, and
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, Xander Cannon is a cool cartoonist with a really cool hip style to him, but this book was it wasn't just style. Like it had a lot of cool style to it, but the actual the actual story of the way the whole story unfolded and then came together in the ending was really really impressive.
Yeah, really, and really powerful.
And that's ultimately like what really makes the book stick with you. Like it's a good looking book, and it's an easy to read book, but it really it really has like a powerful emotional payoff that comes from the storytelling, not just from the style or the setting.
It's interesting noting too that like because there's so many like little tiny things in the background, like it's a book that I feel like I could reread a bunch and see something that I didn't see the first time. Like I just from doing this podcast alone, popping the book open, I saw, I didn't notice that the devils had little patches on their back where their wings were. I didn't notice that the first time, and that's great. That keeps it fresh.
Yeah.
On top of being a already great read. So
yeah. The next episode. What did we say we were doing for the next episode? Yes, Concrete by Paul Chadwick. It's a cool book. I think you're really gonna like it. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening to us ramble on about Heck, and I hope we didn't spoil too much of it for you. Come back for the next episode, and we're gonna talk about real world take on superhero science fiction tropes and elements. It was published by Dark Horse in
1994.
First appearance, Dark Horse presents in 1986.
That was his first appearance?
Yeah, first appearance.
The book itself, Concrete, it's published in 94.
Yeah, so it was the 80s. So
okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was almost positive that it was, because it's kind of got a little bit of an 80s feel to it, which we'll probably talk about, when we read it. But yeah, so come back for the next episode. We're going to talk about Concrete, the first trade paperback they put out, and we will see you all then.
You're going to do your little outro. You can always find me at blah, blah,
blah.
I
suppose I should do that. So, as always, you can find new episodes of Comic DNA at comicdna.podbean.com or newhavencomics.com. You can find any of the comics that I have written and drawn at newhavencomics.com, and you can find us on Facebook. New Haven Comics is on Facebook. I, Aaron Walther, personally am on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. You can find me at AAWALTHER on Twitter.
And I'm on Facebook. Luke,
yes, you can.
MORITZ. That's me.
Luke is on Facebook. So, yeah, if you like what we do, say hi to us. Or if you don't want to say hi to us, then don't say hi to us.
That's fair.
So,
all right, so thank you very much for listening. And next episode we will be doing Concrete by Paul Chadwick.
That's right. So come back then, and we will see you all next time.